Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Nerdy Multiverse and yet another breakdown. Today we will be breaking down and giving our initial thoughts on the 8th episode of the 4th season of The Boys. Of course being the finale for this season. A very action-packed one, to say the least. But anyways, episode 8 and the finale of this season originally was titled Assassination Run, but due to real-world events, it was changed to just Season 4 finale. And this episode begins as VNN, the VOT News Network, being a parody of CNN and Good Morning America reports that A-Train's movie with Will Ferrell, Training A-Train, has been cancelled. This is obviously due to the fact that he was a leak and has fled. We can also see the VOT Studios logo on a water tower here, and this is clearly a play on the Marvel Studios logo. M is watching this all as Frenchie continues to work on the virus. And yes, of course, M is always rocking that of an iconic hip-hop t-shirt. This one is called Dead Prez, which is also a reference to the entire plot of this episode, being the Shifters' plan on eliminating Robert Singer. And speaking of t-shirts, feel free to check out our Scorched Earth merch inspired by the series. The link is in the description down below. All of your support, regardless, is greatly appreciated though. Anyways though, as the electoral votes for Neuman and Robert Singer are counted, Hughie is met by who he still thinks is Starlight. Obviously though, it is still the shapeshifter. And something we do learn in this episode is that she can also read people's minds and gather all of a person's memories. So she basically ends up tricking Hughie into proposing to one another, as now he is engaged to someone pretending to be Starlight. But we can see the ring on her finger is causing her skin to rot and fall off. So she leaves before Hughie is able to notice. Now at the hospital after last week's episode where he fainted in the bar, Butcher is still met by that of Joe Kessler, who urges him to let him take over so that they can go on and do what Butcher has always secretly wanted to do. Burn every single supe in the world. Joe disappears as Grace Mallory arrives. Butcher is seemingly running out of time, so the two need to act on their plans here and now. Cutting to Homelander as he looks through his little collection of items in the display case in his room. That of course include the hair he has been collecting, as well as Black Noir's knife, a photo of Stormfront, and of course a bottle of milk. He is clearly losing it here as he talks to himself in the mirror like he has in previous seasons. And then he starts scouring the room, where he ends up finding Ryan's photo of Becca and Butcher. And of course, this sets him off, and as we can see, when Ryan gets there, he lasers the entire room up and down, destroying it. And when Ryan arrives, he orders him to come over to him, and then he destroys the photo of Becca and Butcher. This leaves the two in a standoff that could have very well led to a full-blown laser eye battle, and Ryan fully standing up to his father. But something falls and catches Ryan off guard and spooks him, so he just leaves instead. Now, with both Starlights, as the real one continues to be held prisoner. She is being fed Black Noir Lean Lad diet lunches, clearly a parody of Lunchables. The shifter is here to regenerate as some of her skin is starting to fall off, including the ring finger. Erin Moriarty has an incredible performance here as she plays the two different versions of Starlight. Of course, the real one being her usual self and just wanting to get out of there and back to her friends. And of course, as the shifter version, who is a sociopath, as she mocks her and acts completely crazy and evil. She ends up mocking Annie with the fact that Hughie proposed to her and that she has gotten with him. All because she is disguising herself as the woman that he loves. She also reveals that she has decided to go with Starlight as the one to take out Robert Singer. So when it's all said and done, the real Starlight will be framed and held accountable, not the shifter here. Now back with Butcher as he calls up Hughie in a pretty emotional scene that was incredibly done by Karl Urban, as he tells Hughie that he is sorry and to tell the boys that he is sorry as well, before he hangs up. Clearly, he is really expecting to pass soon. Cutting to Homelander, Firecracker, and Neuman live on the Vought News channel, which is of course now run by Firecracker herself. Here, Homelander completely reveals on live television that Neuman is a supe herself. And to prove that, he quite literally lasers her with his eyes. But it does nothing to her, and her eyes whiten. Now, I don't really know if her eyes were like this because she was actually attempting to pop his head here, or if her eyes were like this because she was just using her powers to protect herself from the laser eyes. Either way though, her being invulnerable to the laser eyes, whether or not he was going full force or not, is pretty impressive, and shows how powerful she really is, but also how strong a certain somebody else could really be. Neuman says that Homelander will have to get rid of everybody that has dirt on him, her, and the rest of the 7, if they really want to execute their plans now that he has leaked so many secrets himself. So Homelander has Ashley make an entire list of everybody at Vought that may have dirt on him and the other supes. All of Hughie's files on Neuman are gone, of course, because of the shifter deleting them in the last episode. But now they need to go on the defensive and protect Singer themselves, as they have lost the ability to go on the offense. Cutting back to the hospital with Butcher and Grace as Ryan arrives. In what is meant to be Butcher's closing final moments, he plans on revealing the truth to Ryan, slowly but surely, as Ryan is their only hope in taking Homelander down. Ryan says that he likes it at the tower, and Butcher's promise to Becca was to keep Ryan safe. So he says that if Ryan feels safe with Homelander and at the tower, then he won't stop him from going back. And during this entire thing, Joe Kessler is sitting in the background telling Butcher that he will need to take Ryan out eventually himself. Now, at the Vought Tower, as the Deep once again looks over the book that he wrote, Still Waters Run Deep, as Homelander, drinking milk of course, and Firecracker lay out their plan. They are going to call upon hundreds of supes around the world to work alongside them, being Homelander's army of course. And now, they have to get rid of everybody at Vought on the list that has any dirt on Homelander and the team. Overhearing this and hearing that her name is now being added to the list as well, Ashley flees and goes into Homelander's room and injects herself with Compound V to escape her incoming fate. And as a result of this, she falls to the ground, her wig falls off, and her head sort of starts pulsating, as it seems she is sort of deforming or changing at a growing rate. Now, we don't actually see what truly happened to her in this episode after this, but it is safe to say that she did in fact survive, as she is not in that room when Homelander is there later. And the Compound V is clearly now in her veins. So, what powers will Ashley get? Well, I have a few theories. Other than one being that she could possibly turn into a sort of show version of Jack from Jupiter, all three of the other ones have a pretty close connection with her actual character and her story. Throughout the entire series, Ashley has always found a way to adapt to the environment around her, to survive and fit in, just as she gains power in the establishment. In Marvel Comics, there is a character in the X-Men known as Darwin. He is often depicted to look a bit like an alien, which could go with the fact of Ashley seemingly deforming herself. His powers are that of adapting, to absolutely anything. He has even adapted into the god of death before just to defeat Hela. So it's possible that Ashley has gained the ability to adapt. Another possibility is that of gaining the power of superintelligence, in a similar way to that of the leader, who is also from Marvel Comics. Of course, we saw her head and possibly brain growing or deforming, sort of like how the leader's does. She has also felt a bit pushed away ever since Sage showed up, so she could develop this power to combat Sage and earn her place back. But my final and personal favorite theory and possibility, once again, throughout this entire series, Ashley has always had a stress issue, which led to her pulling out all of her hair, to the point she had to wear a wig. This could lead to her developing powers that involve her hair, similar to Sindel from Mortal Kombat and Medusa from the Inhumans in Marvel Comics. Her wig fell off when the V was flowing through her veins and her head was deforming. This could be signifying something new and something growing, possibly superpowered hair. Anyways though, we then cut to Robert Singer and the boys as they have now gone to the lengths of holding him in a bunker and protecting him. Hughie eventually catches on to Starlight actually being the shifter, after she says the same exact line that the shifter said in the apartment from the previous episode. So the shifter realizes it's time to execute her plan and take out Singer. She takes out all of the guards and beats up Kimiko before the real Starlight arrives, after freeing herself from the chains where she is defeated and taken out by the real Annie. Now back at the warehouse with the boys as Frenchie has finally finished the anti-supe virus. Starlight is upset with Hughie because he proposed to the shifter and got with her. Now, I don't think she is truly upset with him for that, because he literally did not know. I think this is all just because she is still going through all of the emotions that were caused by the shifter and being held prisoner, and she's just taking it out on him. Afterwards, Neuman calls Hughie and says that he is the only one she can go to now, as Homelander has called her and threatened her and her daughter. So she just wants out now and she wants to flee. So the two and the boys decide it's best to take the chance and work together. But Frenchie will shoot the virus in her if she tries anything. Kimiko and Frenchie's connections come full circle as they have pushed each other away for so long. But now they are together in the way they have always wanted to be, secretly. Now cutting to the Vought Tower as the Seven take out every regular human in the building that has dirt on them. Here we can see the ego of the Deep being displayed and Black Noir 2.0 slowly turning into just another version of the OG Black Noir, as someone who is really enjoying killing. Here we can also see Firecracker extremely affected by whatever sickness she has developed. Earlier in the episode she said it was from the medications that she was taking for Homelander to get his, well, milk, but could you imagine if it was secretly something else? Something more serious and possibly fatal that was slowly being transmitted into Homelander through the milk. I doubt it, but it's just a thought. Cutting back to the hospital as Ryan and Butcher continue to meet with one another. Grace decides that things are being taken a little too slow to her liking, so she ends up telling Ryan the full truth about his father, and how many people he has killed, and what he truly did to Becca, and that Ryan is the only way to take him down. Obviously, all of this is going to be a bit too much for a kid like Ryan to process on the spot like that, so he tries leaving. But Grace stands in his way and threatens to lock them all in the room and flood it with halothane, the same gas or chemical that was used on Soldier Boy, or was attempted to be used on him. So Ryan snaps and pushes Grace out of the way and it ends up killing her, and he just leaves. Their last set of plans has fallen apart, at least for the time being. So Butcher now turns to Joe Kessler. Cutting to Neuman as she agrees to help the boys take down Vought and Homelander, as long as they help her and her daughter Zoe escape. But none of this deal will go as planned, and she cannot be trusted, at least in Butcher's eyes, as he walks in and finally his powers are revealed. Hughie does try to plead with him and tells him to trust him like he used to trust Lenny, of course. Lenny was Butcher's younger brother, as he grabs Neuman and wraps her up with the sort of symbiotic parasite that is emitting from his chest. And he ends up ripping her straight in half and killing her with ease. And man, has Hughie had it rough this season. First, his dad passes away, then he goes through everything at Tech Knight's mansion, then he gets tricked by a shapeshifter and now has his old friend killed right in front of him by one of his other friends. Zoe is now without her mother, and since she is souped up herself, she is left to be taken to the Red River Institute, the same place that Neuman was also raised. Before leaving, he ends up taking the virus that Frenchie cooked up, as he is likely planning on eventually using it to develop a weapon of mass destruction to use on the supes. This was all a part of Sage's plan though, as she arrives and she reveals it to Homelander. She did all of this just to see if she could. She may not be the most powerful or the strongest, but she is truly terrifying. And that is because of her intelligence. And she is a major threat to that of the boys. And they will have to take her out if they want to be successful in any way in the future. Now, with Neuman dead and Singer arrested for planning her death, Calhoun is sworn in as the new president, where he declares martial law as hundreds of supes will look over the skies and streets by the orders of Homelander, as Homelander vows to take down any of their enemies as a new age of superheroes is arriving. Which is where all of the boys are stopped in their tracks as they try to escape. Starlight and Hughie are stopped by Cindy, the supe with extremely powerful telekinesis that escaped the facilities and now works with Homelander. Hughie is captured, but Starlight uses her reborn powers to fly off in an awesome way, while Frenchie and Kimiko are captured by Kate and Sam from the Gen V series. And as Frenchie is taken into the van, Kimiko speaks for the very first time, as she screams no, as Frenchie is taken away from her. A very powerful moment. And of course, M is taken down by none other than that of Love Sausage. This guy just does not leave M alone. As Butcher has the vial of the virus, he drives off with Kessler sitting backseat in the car, representing how Kessler is now there full time and a part of Butcher that he can now turn to take control. A true backseat driver. But this is not the end, as we actually get a post-credit scene, as Homelander is brought into a facility by Calhoun, where we see none other than that of Soldier Boy, being held in a capsule, awaiting his big return in the final season, which is where the episode truly ends off. And overall, in my opinion, this was an absolutely amazing episode. And definitely my favorite out of the season, and honestly one of my favorites out of the entire series. The performances in this episode were absolutely incredible, and the action and powered up reveals were also super cool. This season overall was great as well. It definitely had a few flaws here and there, but it was also one of the most serious toned ones. But I think it was also done extremely well, despite some of the issues that I may have had. As usual, everything is very enjoyable about this series, and I never really have anything super negative to say about it. There were definitely some weak points this season, obviously, but I still really enjoyed it. And the finale was crazy good. I think my favorite characters and arcs from this season were that of Butcher's, Homelander's, A-Train's, and Sister Sage's. The final season is up next, and I cannot wait to see how it unfolds, whenever it arrives. I think I would give the finale a good 9.5 out of 10, and the season as a whole a good 8 out of 10. But yeah, that about does it for this episode and the season now, from me at least. But of course, I would like to hear your thoughts on the finale and the entire season now that it's finished. So make sure to leave them down below. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed our breakdown and review on this finale and this season as a whole, don't forget to give it a like. And with that being said, we will see you all the next time that we go through and explore the nerdy multiverse.